I finally got my hands on the Monster Hunter Wilds open beta, and I stayed up all night until the sun came up playing this game for good reason, because this game is awesome. And yes, there were some issues that I ran into, which I will definitely cover, but that's to be expected because this is still a beta. They have multiple more months to fix things before the game comes out. But before we get into all of that, thank you guys so much for almost 550 subscribers. I really appreciate it. If you guys like gaming news and gaming reviews, specifically with RPGs and action adventure type of games, and you like the video that you see here, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Now, let's get into the video. Before I get into what I loved about this open beta experience so far, I want to give a little bit of feedback on what I think can definitely be improved, as that is the point of an open beta, and I will also be submitting this to the team. The first thing is the pathing, and specifically I'm talking about the auto pathing when you're on your mount. So in this game, you have a mount, he's called Secret, and you are basically hopping on him to go wherever you need to go, whether you waypointed something on the map, whether you're going and chasing a monster for a hunt, turning in a main quest, anything like that, you're gonna hop on your mount to go do, which is obviously very different to Monster Hunter World. But this pathing needs a lot of work. You will constantly be running into walls or running into random directions to get where you actually want to go, which is a bit of an annoyance, and it's not going to happen every single time you hop on your mount, but it's going to happen enough just within the first couple hours of your gameplay where it is going to get annoying. So I genuinely think this is the biggest thing that can be improved, but that's genuinely the biggest negative I have, and the rest are pretty much positives about my overall experience. And I'll continue talking about the auto pathing really quickly, because most games with auto pathing I tend really not to like, but in this game it works really well, because when you are going to be going to so many different hunts consistently without even returning to your base, or when you're going to go and get all of your different crafting materials or materials to get more potions like honey and herbs, you are constantly going to be running on your mount, and you can waypoint directly where you need to go. And it's a great time to make sure you're sharpening your weapon, make sure you're healing up, make sure you're popping your rations or your well done steaks to get your max health and your max stamina. And specifically when you are chasing a monster, it is very helpful not to have to control your mount and use like a whetstone or a ration or something like that at the same time. It makes it a lot easier to always stay into combat, and also always make sure you're ready for combat when you're going into a fight by not having to worry about where your mount's going. So feedback out of the way in that standpoint, I want to start off with what I started with my experience, which was obviously the character creation. Now, the character creation is serviceable. It's not anything crazy. It's very similar to the previous Monster Hunter games, and it's the same as you'll find in a lot of different games out right now, specifically within the RPG space. So not too much to talk about there, but I always do love creating my Palico and creating my cat to look exactly like my cat that looks like an orange creamsicle out in my living room right now. And you can move your character into the main game, which I really like, although my character needs a lot of work. He looks like a Giga Chad with eyeshadow, so I gotta put a lot of work into him before the game comes out. Next, you're gonna start the story trial, which is the only part of the story you're really gonna be able to experience within this open beta, but you do meet a lot of the characters, and although the story already probably isn't that great, and the whole story as a whole, and pretty much all the Monster Hunter games isn't that great, I think the characters look really damn good. You will notice the facial animations and the way these characters look is incredible. A lot better than I thought they were going to look playing this game. It's awesome, it's beautiful, and from there, you're going to find your mount, hop on to your mount, and finally ride him for the first time. And then you're pretty much directly going to start in your first hunt. And the first monster you come across is the Chupacabra, which is this giant battle toad who doesn't have any crazy mechanics. He doesn't have any crazy moves. He's not going to hit you a lot or do a lot of damage, but for pretty much the tutorial, he's a really good first fight. He looks cool. I like when he uses the environment, and you are pretty much just going to swing away at him and get used to the combos you might know and love from the previous games. And it's also going to introduce you to whatever combos you have if you're using a new weapon. And in this game, you can actually choose 2 weapons. So you can have your main weapon and your secondary weapon that you can change between when you get on your mount. In this game, I've only really so far played with the longsword because I play with that in every Monster Hunter. Please don't flame me. I've been using it all the way back to the PSP with like Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. But either way, I've always played with the longsword, and I played again with that in this beta, and it was really great to come into the game, play a relatively cool monster, and just start getting used to all of my combos that I haven't used in over a year since I played Monster Hunter World. They also introduced you to something new called the focus mode, where specifically with the longsword, I was able to exploit something on the monster I had broken, build up my spirit gauge to the next level, and then I could obviously start using my bigger abilities to do more damage. After the story trial, you can go and put on whatever gear you want. You're obviously going to still have your effects on the different gear, so choose whatever gear that you want within the game, and then you can kind of go off and explore. You have the hunt of the Doshiguma you can do, so that is what I did first, and this is a giant desert bear that hunts in different packs that you have to use a specific pod to get them to scatter to make sure you're fighting him one-on-one. And it's so cool to be able to experience the open world environment of Monster Hunter Wilds, because the changes in the weather, the sinkholes while you're running around that you have to worry about, how the monsters are using all of the environments around them, and how they really feel like they live in the world, which I thought Monster Hunter World did well. This one does even better. And the Doshiguma fight was just overall a really fun, not amazing fight, but just a very solid early fight experience in this game, because we all know the big bad monsters are going to come a lot later down the line, and you actually get that a little bit in this beta too. And before I get to one of the coolest monsters that I've ever seen, and I was not expecting it in this open beta specifically, I want to talk about another monster that I was roaming around and found. So as I was going around, I was getting different items, getting my potions back up, sharpening my weapon after the Doshiguma fight. I found the Balahara, which is like a snake-like monster that burrows into the sand, moves around, and pops up. We've seen these type of monsters before. Well, we have another one, but what's so cool about him is he actually creates legit sinkholes in the sand, and he also kind of swirls around these giant pillars and then just like shoots acid at you, which was just so cool. I loved how he used the environment and how you really think he's native to this desert land. And after fighting against him for a while, dodging his sinkholes, dodging the acid he was spewing at me, knocking off different armor parts, using the focus mode to exploit the weaknesses within the enemy, I finally also took him out. And then, as I just thought, oh my god, I've killed all the monsters in this beta already, this has been a really cool experience, I love it, something awesome happened. The entire weather changed. Lightning started storming down on the map, and a new monster appeared. And the big bad that appeared was called the Ray Dao, a lightning dragon that comes into the map when the weather changes to lightning that you need to then go and hunt down. So I went after him, I tried fighting him solo, and within 2 seconds, he took 90% of my health away. So I tried to get away. I remembered they have SOS flares within the open beta. So I popped the SOS flare, and it was time to get to work, bro. This dude is just absolutely awesome. The Ray Dao literally has a railgun lightning head that shoots directly at you that you have to dodge while you're fighting him, and if you get hit, you are cooked, at least in this beta with the limited options of armor and weapons. So me and the team took him out finally after a really cool fight where lightning's coming down from the sky. It's causing lightning to radiate within the actual ground of the map. You got the Ray Dao skating his wing across the ground with lightning, throwing it up and lightning exploding everywhere. It was so cool. It wasn't overly challenging or overly difficult with a group, but if you're trying to fight this dude one-on-one in the beta, it's definitely the hard fight that you are looking for, and just overall a really badass dragon that I did not expect to already be fighting within this game. And to combine that with how he comes in when the lightning and the weather changes within the map, and how he uses the environment and how he fits within the environment, is just so cool. I absolutely loved it, and everything about this beta, again, other than the auto pathing, or at least the pathing for the auto pathing, was just Overall, an incredibly positive experience. I was already addicted, and it had the same type of Monster Hunter flow that the previous games have, but while it's open world, you just feel more immersed into the environments. You really feel like every monster and every creature and how they're interacting, and when the big monsters are fighting against each other, you just feel like you're there, and you feel so immersed within the experience as a whole, and that you're just fighting to survive in this insanely dangerous landscape that is Monster Hunter Wilds. So overall, the combat felt fluid and felt very fun, with some cool new additions like the focus mode attacks, at least for me on the longsword. You can have two different weapons. You have a mount, which if they fix the pathing overall, I think the mount is a much needed experience within the game, especially if you have that auto pathing where you're able to do a lot of the upkeep on your character between different fights or while you're chasing a monster. The characters and the graphics look absolutely amazing, and although I'm not expecting the story to be great, everything around that is really awesome too. You're gonna have your normal crafting, you're gonna have your cooking with the palicos to get your different bonuses. The multiplayer worked so damn flawlessly. I love how when you're in the main area, when you're in the base camp, you can see other players around you. Just all in all, it was such a really good, fun experience that you guys have to try out before this beta ends on November 3rd. If you aren't on PlayStation Plus, you can start playing this game on the 31st, so please go check it out. You are doing yourself a disservice not to play this game. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Let me know down below in the comments if you're excited about this game, if you've already played it, what your experience has been, or if you are going to play it if you're currently not a PlayStation Plus member and you want to play it on Steam or Xbox in the next couple of days. Like the video if you like the video, and then subscribe for more content like this. I really appreciate the support. I will see you in the next one. Peace!